You ever have moments in your day when you feel guilty about something that happened with your kids? What's something you shouldn't be doing and you feel bad about it? Now, I've been guilty of this and I still am at times, and I have a deep desire to be the best parent I can possibly be. And I know you share that if you're here watching this video. If you've experienced this and wonder how you can be a better role model, foster more connection, and develop deeper bonds with them so they can not only love you, but also become the best version of themselves, I'm going to cover what we've been trying in our home that has had a positive result. Hey guys, welcome to Real Influence. My name is Joey Vaillancourt. I'm a father of three. Two of them being my own, one's a stepson. The youngest is 2 years old and the oldest is 21 years old. So I've had a wide spectrum of experience. And even though I've been a dad for a relatively short period of time, I'm continuing to learn and share the things that are working based on what I'm learning from other people, as well as what I'm trying and erroring in my own life. I'm going to share 5 big takeaways that I implement in my life. I'm also going to give you my secret question I ask myself anytime I want to know if what I'm doing is right or wrong, so I don't sabotage my relationship with my kids in the long term. So stick around for that one. All right, now, so some of these are going to sound a bit cliche, but there's a reason why cliches are still around. It's because there is some truth to them. So the number one thing that I've implemented in my life that I want to share with you and just encourage you to do more of if you're not already doing it is be the person you want them to be, or the person you want them to see you as, okay? We are role models. And for the longest period of time that we want them to be role modeling what we're doing. Now, we have to also take into account things that they're experiencing outside of us, but we need to be the pillars of strength in their lives. And we need to uphold the different level of discipline, of the way we hold ourselves, and our beliefs and our values and our ethos and the things that mean something to us, and make sure that those are delivered to our kids. So there's just like a couple little things. And I catch myself all the time on doing the wrong version of this and going, wait a minute, is that what I want them to emulate? Is that who I want them to be?
I need to think about this.
And a couple of those things that I just want to highlight for you. Being nice to your spouse, whether it's your wife, your husband, your partner, but how are you reacting to the way things are happening in your household?
Right now.
Are you being nice? Are you responding? Are you talking to your kids about your partner behind your partner's back and putting them down, or saying that, oh, that's just the way dad is, or that's just the way mom is, you know how she is, and secretly giving them little treats when we already established that the kids shouldn't have any more treats tonight? Really narrowing in on this is important because we need to be a people of integrity. We need to uphold a value. And if they're seeing this value getting broken behind closed doors, they're going to start to do the same. And I've caught my 4-year-old sometimes doing this, where I'll catch him whispering. And I'm like, why are you whispering? And he doesn't really have an answer for me. So instead of saying, we don't whisper and keep secrets, one of the things that I tell them is say, we tell the truth in this family and we share with people. We're not afraid to actually speak the truth to each other. So that's something that we uphold now. But whenever I have a disagreement with them, my wife, or anybody in particular, instead of just being reactive, I try to say, how do I want them to interpret this situation? If they're watching this and I'm yelling at my partner, or I'm getting upset at something that's affecting me in the moment, they're going to think of, I need to be reactive in my life. I want to be like dad. I want to be like mom. I'm going to keep secrets. I'm going to yell at people. I'm going to talk negatively about people behind their backs. What you're doing is setting the example for them. I just want you to take stock and start looking at things every single day of your life, when you're in front of your kids, as well as when you're not in front of your kids, because this isn't about hiding things from them. This is about leveling up as a person that you want to be, that you want your kids to start to mimic and model. So I don't just do this and say, I'm going to be perfect in front of my kids. By the way, it's not about perfection with kids either. It's about showing vulnerability, admitting when you're wrong, saying sorry, but just really upholding a new standard of the way you want to be in front of your children. Another thing of this is like leading by example. So oftentimes we want some quiet time. We want to be alone because we've had a rough day, and we want them, after they had a rough day, by the way, they could have been in school, they could have been in daycare, they could have had their own rough day and their own version of how they want to quote unquote numb out or just take the pressure off. And sometimes think about when we tell them to just go play outside, right? Just get out of my hair. I just need you outside right now. And by the way, that's okay too sometimes. But my encouragement is 80% of the time, get outside with them. Don't just tell them to go outside and to go find something to do. Why don't you join them? First off, it's going to show that your companionship with them is strong. It's going to show your involvement. You can lead in things that they can do together, and you have to be a part of their life. It also encourages you to be active. So anything that you're asking your kids to do, you should also be leading by example. All right, I can't wait to share with you a book that I read a long time ago that changed my life with how I have a relationship now with my beautiful wife. It's gotten so much better. But before we get into that, I want to share with you one other key thing. So number 2 is to be present with your kids. And of course, we all think we are, right? And we all know that we want to be present with our kids. Who doesn't? I want to be present. I never want them to feel abandoned. But are we acting in that way? And I would challenge you. I've challenged myself because I've caught myself. I'll say I'm present with my kids. Meanwhile, I have my phone and I'm just checking a few messages. And then all of a sudden, I'm like going back to my computer to finish up a few notes in the times where I should be present. And it's up to you to define when those times are. And listen, it's okay to set boundaries. It's okay, for example, that I work from home and I say that only at 4 o'clock does dad come out of his office. My boundaries are that dad needs his time in the office to do some work. But at 4 o'clock, I am all yours. And I'm going to turn off my distraction devices, any kind of social things, my internet, my SMS messages. I'm not going to be reading the paper or doing anything else that's distracting me from being present with them. And one of the key things that I always ask myself that saved me, hopefully, by the way, I have no actual historical data if any of this works, and this is just me sharing. So take it for what it's worth. If you want to try to implement some of this, go for it. I'm not here to back everything up by a statistic. I'm saying that what I'm noticing is seem to be working, and I'm really praying that long term it has a good effect. But one of the key questions that I ask myself is, when my sons grow up and they're in their 20s or 30s, and God willing, I'm still around to experience that, right? And they come over for a visit, how would I want them acting in that environment? Would I want them being on their device? Would I not feel a little bit checked out myself if I was on my device as my kids were watching me, as they're visiting me later in life? So anything that you're doing in front of your kids, think about what if they were doing that later in life when all you want is that time back. You just want that moment to connect with them, that moment to talk with them. You have that now. You have that opportunity. And what you're doing now is going to be reflected to you later in life. And if you set the standard, hopefully, for your kids that during this period of time, we are all about family and connection. We listen to each other. We talk with each other and we are fully present. We do not distract and we do not numb out from each other's company when we are in that zone. The goal is later in life, you can use that same core pillar of a value that you guys have created and that have established as a foundational pillar in your family life to say, hey, when we visit, we don't have devices on. We don't go and check out and we don't get distracted because what matters most are the people in this room right here, right now. So next time you catch yourself, and by the way, it's okay if you do, we're not about perfection here. I am nowhere near perfect either. But when you catch yourself on your device in the times you know you should be intentional with your kids, just remember that question. How would you react when your kids are older and all you want is that desperate companionship and their attention to be back to you as if they're like 5 years old? How would you feel in that moment? That's going to give you some motivation to put that device down. All right, number 3 has been a game changer, not just for kids, but for relationships. I recommend reading the book, The 5 Love Languages, okay? And I think that there's actually one for kids, so I'd even read the one for kids. But the 5 Love Languages identifies that not everybody feels love in the same way. For example, I love physical touch. I love words of affirmations. Those are just 2 love languages out of a possible 5. So for me, whenever I want to feel love, I need to get physical touch. I need hugs. I need kisses. I need anything that's going to require them to be physically present with me. And I also like to hear, great job on that project you just finished. Hey, Dad, thank you so much for this thing that you did for me. Those are my love languages. But what I've noticed is my kids don't have that same love language. So oftentimes where I think I'm going to give them love by doing the same things that brings me love, it's not being received the same way. And this has been really something that has taken a bit of practice because my oldest son, who's 4 years old, he's very similar to me. He's like a mini Joey in a lot of ways, good and bad. And I love him. And he's a physical touch and time spent. Those are his love languages. Now, our 2-year-old is not a physical touchy type of little being. Okay, so maybe he's going to grow into it and love languages do change. But I'm starting to notice that even though he's not coming to hug me, he's looking for love in different ways. And if I just tried to show him love through physical touch, he's not going to feel love. So I need to put my own needs aside sometimes, as all parents do, as you probably have done, and identify, what do my kids need in this moment to feel connection, to feel a bond, to feel taken care of, and to feel love. And for my little one, it is time spent. It's as simple as that. He's just not a physical touch type of little guy right now, and that's okay. And my wife's different as well. She loves acts of service, acts of kindness, and doing things together. So it's a bit of a hybrid in terms of all the different love languages. It's not to say that like you only have one or the other, but just start to notice and read the book. It's a game changer in understanding this, and start to identify where are the gaps between what you think they need as love and what they actually need. And then as well as for yourself, this is really important for your kids and your family to understand, including your partner. Like, how do you receive love? And after you read the book, you should start to identify, I really like when people show me gratitude. I really like when people say great things to me. Or maybe you don't like that, and what you prefer is physical touch. You love being hugged, or whatever the case is. And there's also acts of service and a whole bunch of other ones and a whole bunch in between. So just start to understand that and see where there's an opportunity for you to give love in a new way to your kids who need it in that format. All right, number 4 is really just getting them involved, getting them engaged. Now, I'm going to elaborate on what I mean by this, but I would say that this is one of the hardest things that you might experience. And it's one thing that I know I've experienced a lot, where I'm a very naturally impatient person. So I like to just do things myself. If I wanted the laundry cleaned up, I would just go clean up the laundry because it's faster. I'm a bigger person. I'm more knowledgeable. I've got more practice at it. So why would I want my kids doing it when I can just do it better, right? So that's something that I've started to learn. And it's not just about that. I'll give another example. Is sometimes my kids are walking up and down the stairs. It's taking them much longer than it would just take me to grab them and bring them down the stairs, right? What I've started to notice is that if I just start doing things for them, of course, like everyone knows, you don't want to condition them to be reliant on you and that they're not self-reliant. But start to understand, where are you picking up the slack that you could easily engage with them, make it an activity, make it fun, or ask them, do they want to help with it? And even if it takes you a bit longer, it's more important to actually encourage them, to empower them to do things themselves. And this doesn't just stop at like chores or going up and down the stairs, but just really notice those first things. And then the second thing is get them involved in things like cooking. And if you guys don't cook, find things that you could be doing together that, again, might take a bit more time, might not be as efficient in terms of getting it done. But it's not about getting it done. It's about enjoying the time spent with your kids, getting them involved in things that you're already doing so you can have that intentional time with them. Another thing I started to do is just really make sure that they have a chance to voice their concerns, voice their questions. Oftentimes I'll get caught, especially when you're running late. You just want to get it done. So it's like, why are we doing this? Because I said so, and because we're late, and because we got to get going. You don't understand. Sometimes it's just the way it is. We do have to get going, and we try to usher them out. But more and more, I'm trying to practice, what is the question they're asking? How can I answer the question without getting heated, without getting charged, without bringing this emotional charge to them that then is inhibiting them from asking more questions later in situations that are similar to this, when it might not even be me involved with it. So you want to think about the things you're conditioning to them to not ask questions about. They're going to bring into their life in different areas, whether it's with teachers, whether it's with friends, or anybody in their life that they're encountering. They're going to be taught it's not good to ask questions. People get upset when you ask questions, and it's just, you have to be on time. Sometimes it's more important to be late and actually engage with your kids than it is to be on time and teach them that it's not important to ask questions, or that their questions aren't important. And part of getting involved and planning things together is legit planning things together. So, our kids are at an age where they're not going to get involved in terms of where they want to go, what they want to do, and actually craft this meticulous plan. But as we know, weekends coming up, or as we know, activities are coming up in the week, we've started to say, hey, don't forget, we have hockey coming up. We have gymnastics coming up. We have that visit where we're going to go visit our family and friends in a couple weeks. By engaging with them in this level, they start to ask questions. They start to get interested. They start having something to look forward to. And as we know, most kids and people don't like surprises, right? So if somebody just drops something on you tomorrow, how would you feel? It doesn't matter if they're a kid or your partner or your spouse. It's about communicating things in advance, getting their buy-in on it, making sure that you're asking and answering questions with them in terms of what you're going to be doing, and what are the things coming up for them, making sure that they feel heard. As we all know, sometimes all we want to do is just really feel heard, even if the problem doesn't get resolved. The fact that we're heard feels good. All right, number 5 is a big one, and it's be a person of integrity. Integrity is one of these values that is constantly getting pushed down the ladder. And what I mean by integrity is being a person that if you say you're going to do something, you do it. And the person you are behind closed doors is the person you are in front of your kids. And this one's a big challenge. This could come in the form of drinking, of using substances, of numbing out with Netflix. Now, again, it's not to say that you can't have things that you want to potentially hide from your kids, okay? But it's about understanding that if they were to catch you in the act, and let's say that is drinking and drinking to excess or whatever the case is where you feel like you're not your optimal version of yourself. And if you don't want to show kids that, and that's not something you want to portray as a model for your kids, you have to start to consider, is that something you want to keep in your life? And for myself, I knew that was the answer that I needed for my own situation, which was I didn't like who I was becoming when I would drink in front of my kids or my kids were a part of a situation where drinking would be involved. I was noticing that drinking was often associated to having fun and that we only have fun when we drink. We only communicate and have heart-to-hearts when we drink. And all these things that I didn't want them to bring into their own life. So regardless of whether you think drinking is a problem or not, that's not really what I'm talking about here. You can pick and choose your own poisons, as it were, as to what you're doing that you don't want your kids to see. And a key reminder is if you feel guilty, if you feel ashamed, or you feel bad in any way with the things you're doing in front of your kids, or the things you're trying to hide from your kids, it's probably a sign that you shouldn't be doing it, or you need to reflect on why you're doing it, and do you want them to ever have that in their life? And there's a bit of a fine line with this, because I want to be able to communicate as much as possible with my kids, everything that's happening. If I want to cry in front of my kids, I don't want to protect them and never let them see their dad cry. I want them to experience the freedom to know that it's okay to cry. It's okay to show emotions. I don't want them to feel like they can never show that. And some people don't agree with that. So it's up to you to define what the line is for you. It's not to say everything I'm telling you today is something that you should do. I just think we all need to consider things that we're trying to hide from our kids. And is there value in bringing it and showing them some of that? So in some cases, no. Okay, there's things like sexual relations with your partner you don't want to introduce to your kids and things of that nature. But there's also some bad habits that we have where we know we shouldn't probably be doing it regardless of even having kids. But the kids give us a new benchmark, a new upholding of a level of discipline that we want to have in our life. And what greater way to start showing them that you truly do care for them in a form that they don't even understand yet. They won't even see that sacrifice of you maybe cutting back on drinking, maybe not watching so much TV, maybe not being on Netflix or on Facebook or on Instagram or TikTok so much. But these are small, silent sacrifices we can start to make as we identify things that we wouldn't want to see modeled in their own behavior. And I'm having to take a hard look at this all myself. Every single day, every single week, I'm looking at things and I'm not spending time being ashamed and feeling guilty about every little thing that I do. But if I notice myself on my phone too much and I think, hey, I don't want him on their phone too much, I want to start to look at that objectively and say, this might be something I need to cut out. So listen, that's just what I'm doing, but I'd love to know what you're doing. So drop it in the comments below. I am by no means on a soapbox up here telling you that I've got it figured out. I am far from perfect and I'm still trying to figure it out. And with help from you, from mentors and other key people in my life that I'm continuing to learn from and share what I'm learning as I see what's working, that's where the bigger connection happens. So do me a favor, if there's someone who needs to hear this and you're excited to share it, please share this episode with someone. And if you're listening to this on the audio platforms and you haven't subscribed yet, please do and leave me a rating or a review. I get really excited when I see a new review pop up and I always read them. And if you're following along here on YouTube, make sure to subscribe, like, and comment because I love hearing from people. And I try to read all the comments because I also have things to learn and I'm always on the hunt for new tips from people like yourself who's in it with me. Thank you for letting me share today. I really enjoyed being here with you and it's my privilege and honor to be here with you on this journey together. And I will see you on the next episode. Take care.